Kidnappers. A little north of the town of Sligo on the southern side of Ben Bulben, some hundreds of feet above the plain, lies a small white square in the limestone. No mortal has ever touched it with their hand. No sheep or goat has ever grazed beside it. There is no more inaccessible place upon the earth and few more surrounded by mystery. It is the door of fairyland. In the middle of the night, it swings open, and the unearthly troop rushes out. All night, the joyful yet eerie rabble sweep to and fro across the land, unseen by most, unless, perhaps, in some gentle places like Drumcliff or Drumahair, where old faery-doctors may peek from their doors to glimpse what the gentry are doing. To their trained eyes, the fields are covered with red-hatted riders, and the air is full of shrill voices, a sound like whistling, unlike any earthly speech. If there be a newborn baby or a newlywed bride nearby, the faery-doctors watch closely, for the unearthly troop does not always return empty-handed. Sometimes a newlywed or newborn is taken with them into their mountains. The door closes behind, and the lost soul moves henceforth in the bloodless land of faery. Happy enough, yet destined to fade like bright vapor, for joy cannot exist forever without sorrow. Through this white stone door, and through other doors of that hidden land where you can buy joy for a penny, have passed kings, queens, and princes. Yet now, so greatly has the power of faery faded, that only peasants appear in these sad chronicles of mine. Long ago, at the western corner of Market Street in Sligo, where the butcher's shop now stands, there was an apothecary shop owned by a mysterious Dr. Opendon. No one knew where he came from. In those days, there was also a woman named Ormsby whose husband had fallen mysteriously ill. The doctors could find nothing wrong, yet he grew weaker by the day. Desperate, she went to Dr. Opendon. She was shown into the shop parlor, where a black cat sat before the fire. The sideboard was covered with fruit, and before she could finish thinking that fruit must be wholesome when the doctor has so much, Dr. Opendon entered. He was dressed all in black, his wife behind him in the same color. She gave him a guinea and received a small bottle. Her husband recovered soon after. The black doctor healed many others, until one day a rich patient suddenly passed away, and that very night, the doctor, his wife, and the cat all vanished. A year later, Mr. Ormsby became sick again. His wife feared the gentry were coveting him, so she sought help from a local fairy doctor at Cairnsfoot. He chanted strange words behind his house, and in time, the husband recovered. But after a while, he grew ill once more, a third and final time. The fairy doctor said sadly there was nothing more to be done. Mrs. Ormsby always believed that what lay in her home afterward was not her real husband, but something left in his likeness by the fairies. She herself has long passed, but many still living remember her. It is said that those who are taken sometimes return for a brief visit, usually after 7 years. Many years ago, a woman vanished suddenly from a garden in Sligo where she had been walking with her husband. When her son, now grown, heard that she was living in enchantment, glamored by the fairies and longing to see him, he traveled all the way to Glasgow. There, in a dim cellar, he found his mother working. She smiled, offering him food, but he refused, knowing that to eat fairy food was to remain in their realm forever. And so he returned safely to Sligo. 5 miles south of Sligo lies a gloomy, tree-lined pond called the Heart Lake, shaped like its name and haunted by things stranger than wild ducks. Once men began to drain it, but suddenly one cried out that his home was aflame. Every man there saw his own cottage burning. They rushed home, only to find it was an illusion. Fairy glamour. To this day, the half-dug trench remains as a mark of that folly. Near this lake, I heard a haunting story from an old woman in a white cap who sang softly in Gaelic as she rocked from foot to foot, as though remembering the dances of her youth. A young man, walking at nightfall to the home of his just-married bride, met a cheerful company, and among them, his bride. They were fairies who had taken her as a wife for their chief. She, seeing her true love, welcomed him warmly, but feared he would taste their food, and thus be lost to the mortal world. She urged him to play cards instead. He played, not realizing the truth until he saw the fairy chief carrying her away. In that instant, the illusion broke. The merry company faded into mist. He ran to her house, only to hear the mournful wails of keeners. His bride had passed just before his arrival. Sometimes those taken become guardians to the living. One such tale tells of John Curwen of Castle Hacket, a man known for racing fine horses. One evening in Liverpool, a young boy warned him not to stable his horse in a certain place, saying it would burn that night. Curwen took heed, and indeed the stable caught fire. The next day, the boy asked to be his jockey. During the race, the boy whispered, "If I strike him with my left hand, I'll lose, but if with my right, bet all you are worth." He struck with his right, and they won. Afterward, the boy said, "My mother has a cottage on your land. Be good to her, John Curwen, for they took me from the cradle. I'll watch over your horses, but you will never see me again." Then he vanished into thin air. Sometimes even animals are taken. In Galway, a widow's cow was swept away by the river. A wise red-haired woman told a man to bring the calf to the riverbank and watch. At dusk, the cow returned to nurse her calf. The man, remembering the woman's words, caught the cow's tail and was carried through fields and ditches until they reached a fairy fort. There, he saw the spirits of villagers gone before, and a woman with a child warned him, "Do not forget the spancel. Take the inside one." He did as told, and the cow returned safely home. Even now, in the valleys and mountainsides near Sligo, people whisper of those taken away. Some who returned after 7 years came back changed, lighter, quieter, as if a part of them still lingered in fairyland. It is easier to dismiss such tales in cities, but when one walks along those gray country roads at dusk, beside white cottages and scented elder trees, watching clouds crown the mountains, it is easy to believe that just beyond the veil of sight, the fairies still dance between the white stone door of Ben Bulben and the Heart Lake below. Footnote: It is said that it was not the Curwens, but their predecessors, the Hackets of Castle Hacket, who were descended from a man and a spirit famed for their beauty. Perhaps, in legend, the names were exchanged, for in Ireland, folklore stirs everything together in its ancient cauldron.